Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Inner Fam podcast. So today, we'll dig a little deeper into the often elusive topic of money and challenge our money mindsets to take ourselves to the next level of growth. So personally, I'm at the current stage of life where money mindset is really something of huge curiosity to me, as it is with my two co-founders, Li Shen as well as Audrey. So I have so many dreams for my future, and sometimes I really have to admit that I feel a little bit of a panic when I haven't gotten it all figured out in terms of financing my goals. And I think growing up, we really absorb and internalize beliefs about money that may not be healthy for our next level of growth. And that's why I'm really keen to learn how to move out of a middle income mindset to a high income mindset. So I think for this month's podcast, we thought of inviting some of our dear friends who are one step ahead of us. I think Melissa, Phola, and Janice. So we'll unpack on how they have experienced changes in their money mindset and have turned their inner wisdom into external results. Of course, one of which is financial wealth. And we have invited these students of life from different backgrounds and stages in their financial journey. And I'm really very keen to learn from them the differences in perspectives at different life stages as well. So I think for now, I will introduce our panel speakers for today. Melissa, starting off with Melissa. So Melissa is the Associate Director leading Sparks Financials Group. She has been in the industry for 10 years, and some of her achievements were bouncing back from $400,000 negative to owning 2 properties today. And she now has the freedom to spend quality time with her family and friends, which is something that she really holds dearly to her heart. And next up, we have Phola. So Phola is the Director of IoT Digital Solutions APAC at Otis. He has been in the IoT line for 7 years and has over 20 years of work experience as well. Phola has experienced both ends of the financial spectrum, so one might say he has gone from rags to riches. And when he was young, his family could not afford meals. And as a young professional, Phola has started his career in a no-future industry with low pay. But as he progressed along, he managed to jump into one of the most trendy industries nowadays with high income. And he also started investing a bit later in life, from thinking that investing is too risky and not investing at all, to investing in the crypto markets. And lastly, we have Janice, who is a financial planner at Great Eastern. So at 28, she managed to buy an executive condominium with her partner and has set up 3 different streams of income. So one of her greatest financial achievements is having the freedom to spend money to pamper her parents, which is something that should not be taken for granted. Yeah. So we'll be running the session interactively later. So each of our hosts and guests have cards that help them to show empathy or signal that they have follow-up questions. So later you'll be seeing all these cards pop up. Great. So we can begin and get started right now. Oh, before that, maybe we can get Melissa, Phola, and Janice to say hi. So Melissa, would you like to say hi?
As in just say hi. Like, hi.
Yeah, just to okay, great. So now the audience kind of get acquainted with our 3 panelists. We can start off by asking something really simple. So I think the first question I wanted to ask is, what is your favorite song? And what do you enjoy about this song? So maybe Melissa, would you like to go first?
For me, it's really simple. The first thing that came to my mind is Lemon Tree. I think I like the whole thing, how the whole thing sound. It's like really pumping up the afternoon. When I first like the song, I don't really know what the lyrics are, but I know that it got me into the mood, like get myself into the mood. So usually if when I start, after that I start to read the lyrics and all, then I realized that, okay, it really sounded like kind of fun when like there's really a boring Saturday afternoon. that's when like the music kind of play pretty well. Yeah, so it's just Lemon Tree.
Thanks for sharing, Melissa. Then what about Phola?
For me, it's Hotel California. The reason why I like this song is because first of all, I love California. I think that this is probably the best place on earth for the weather, the chill atmosphere, the people, and it's good combination between nature and city. And in California, you also have Woodstock, which is a very small town where a lot of things happen in the 70s with the hippies things, and I have very good memories when I went there, not to smoke, of course, but to get very nice souvenirs from there from the 70s when I was born, basically. So yeah, that's why.
Thanks for sharing, Phola. And then what about Janice?
For myself, it's more of a Chinese song actually. 倔强. I don't know you all know or not, the 五月天 song lah. So for me, that one resonate a lot with me because it's something that I listen since young, number one. I also love the lyrics a lot lah. So it's like in translation, now I'm doing a live translation. Okay. Even if the next stop is not heaven, okay, even if you're disappointed, you cannot lose hope. Direct translation, yes. So something I really like about the lyrics lah. Yes.
I really love that. Thanks, Janice, for sharing. Yeah, great. So I think asking these kind of questions really help us to straight away kind of understand our panelists, and also what are some of their mindsets, or what are some values that they hold dear to them as well. And I think right now we will actually take a little bit of plunge into the next question, something a little bit deeper, and I hope that these questions will be intriguing to the audience. So the next question is what are your deepest values, and how did they impact your career or business?
Okay, I start.
Mm-hmm.
So the deepest value, first of all, I think that for me, money is a tool, not a goal. So it means that you use money to help you to get to your purpose, your goal in life, right? Which means that when you focus a lot on this, and especially at work, you tend to focus more on what you would like to achieve, right? More than the money itself. So this helps a lot. The other value I think that is that you need to respect others money the same way that you respect yours. I think it's very important. A lot of people they think that when we spend it a lot, when other people spend money, it's okay. It's not that much, right? So it helps to create a lot of friendship and all these things. Another value, like probably money. I think that money likes a lot of freedom and likes a lot to travel. And I believe that if you let your money go, take some vacation, it will come back with a lot of nice souvenirs, right? So I think that this is one thing also that you need to be able to let go of the money to be able to welcome it back. Yeah. And probably the last one is to not envy people who are richer, because we all start at the different stage of our lives in making money. And for example, someone like Warren Buffett, he made most of his fortune after 60s. Yeah, so that's why I still have some hope. So yeah, so these are the 3 or 4 things that I think are pretty deep inside me.
Phola, for sharing that. Yeah, actually, I think something that really resonated with me was the one that you talk about, like treating other people's money of equal importance as your own as well. So I think I come from a corporate environment, and I always notice that some people in the company, whenever it's like company's money, then they'll say, never mind, just spend just company's money after all. But I think it's very important to hold the mindset that what if you run the business as your own? Would you be as frivolous with the money as if you had as though you were spending your own money? Yeah. So thanks for the insight, Phola. Anyone else, Melissa or Janice?
I can go next. So basically, deepest value, I think one of the things that I always do when it comes to not only my career, my business, my life, I think it's always to add value. There must always be something more that I can give in terms of adding value to someone's life, right? Whatever it may be, it may not be just money. It could be something that is valuable, that is intangible, and it can be very personalized as well. I think that's really very important to me. And besides that, I think I agree with Phola on the part whereby he talks about how money is really a tool to an end. It's really not an end. And if that is and having that as a it's not really a value, but it's really to see that as that, but it's not easy. So it's really, at the end of the day, I guess is really to figure out what do I really want in life and what do everybody want in life. Like what is most important to you? I guess that will give a lot more clarity and happiness in life. So that I guess it's also my key guideline in helping me to navigate in life. So at the end of the day, if I have a lot of money and I'm not happy, I don't think that's the direction I want to go to. But I would also like to be in a space whereby the money could actually help me to really, for example, spend time with my family members, you know, create time. I think that would be very lovely. And also to actually do things that I would like to do with myself, right? Or even people around me. So I think at the end of the day, adding value and also recognizing what I really do want in life, that really helps to navigate life. And when I know what I want in life, that helps people around me to have some clarity as well, to really, hey, you know, maybe, you know, think about what they want in life as well. And with that, you know, it creates a ripple effect by living up to what we want in life, having clarity in that, and people around us could be inspired maybe, and that ripple effect could make really a lot of difference by just talking rather than just talking, but it makes an impact in that way. Yeah.
Sharing, Melissa. Okay, awesome. And then what about Janice?
Okay, so for myself, right, I would say there are three main things lah. So the first one is actually integrity. So to me, integrity is very important. Then fairness and seek fulfillment rather than success for me. Yeah, so the first thing is integrity, because integrity is something that I feel that is, if I cannot do something that I can face myself in the future, like I will regret, or I will look back and say, oh no, why did I do this? Yes. So to me, integrity is something that will hold me to always do the right thing. Yes, for myself, for my family, for my clients. Yes, so integrity is one. Then the other thing is fairness. So because fairness is like, you know, Chinese quote, right? 己所不欲，勿施于人. Yeah, it's something that holds a lot to me as well. If something that I do not seek, I do not want, okay, I make sure that it's not applied to others as well. So that's the other one. Then the other one is seeking fulfillment and not success. To me, fulfillment is something that I enjoy a lot. It's like, oh, I conquer myself again. So at every stage in life, I'm conquering myself in terms of no matter it's career or relationships, it's all about fulfillment for me. Yes.
Thanks, Janice, for sharing. Yeah, that was a really... Of course.
I guess there's one more thing that really holds very close, is growth. Growth is so important. Like if there's one day that I realize I'm stagnant, then that's really something to look into. And if there's growth and continuous growth in whichever aspect in life, things are always more interesting tomorrow. And you could see that you become a better version of yourself, and that really also impacts life in that sense.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Melissa. I think for you, I realized that there's a theme where there's a theme of influence, where, you know, whatever you do, you realize that you can impact someone else because they feel inspired, you know, by your growth, or, you know, by the direction that you have set for yourself as well. Yeah. So I think that's a very interesting take. Awesome. So we'll move on to the next question on a bit of the money mindsets that you had when you were growing up, and then how did these money mindsets shift as you grew older? And of course, you can share whether there were any barriers that you had to break through. So was there some point in time where you felt a bit stuck, but then you managed to break through that moment of stuckness into you know, growth? I see Janice not. Yeah, okay, Janice.
Yes. So for me, right, when I was younger, I was because my family is not wealthy, so I was in a constant survival mode. Yeah, so it's something is like permanently like, oh no, I don't have enough money. It's kind of that state, because when I was younger, right, there's a lot of arguments about money. I think it's a constant theme among a lot of people lah. Yes. Then at one point, my dad, after that happened, right, as in like when I grew up lah, he told me at one point he only has $10 in his wallet. So all these little things has actually very shaped me a lot. So I was in a very constant survival mode. I make sure I save money. I don't anyhow spend money. So it's like a saving mode lah. And this lasted all the way until this year actually. So this year I'm much more comfortable with the current state of things. So I'm much more willing to spend on myself and my parents also. So it's more of the shift in mindset for me is more of, how do I put it? It's more about being able to start spending money in a way that make myself and my parents happy. Yes, for me, as you can tell, I want to make sure that my family is very happy lah. In a certain sense, happy is a very weird word, but yes, I want to make sure that my dad is well taken care of because he has put in a lot of hard work for us. Yes, so that's for me.
Thanks, Janice, for sharing. I think it really touched me. Especially when you talk about like how your parents have been through hardship, and I think I really can resonate how you want to provide for them and make them comfortable in their future years as well. Yeah, thanks for sharing. What about maybe Phola?
Yeah, so when I was young, the two things happened in my life, and these two things basically changed my life in terms of a money mindset. So the first thing is that when I was probably 7 or 8, I was very I really loved candies. I think that all the kids love candies, and my parents were basically giving me some money to go and buy some vegetables or things to the at the supermarket. And every time I was coming back, I had the bad habit to keep the change. The reason why I kept the change, I was keeping the change because I wanted to keep this change to buy the candies, right? And then my mom told me, yeah, it's not good. When I give you the money, you go and buy, you come back, you have to give back the change because this money is not yours. Okay. And then I realized that you can't rely on others or other people money to get what you want. You have to earn it, right? So the way I managed to change it is that instead of waiting for the rest of the change of the small the money that I got for the errands, I was trying to get some small jobs or small tasks that I was doing for my parents' friends or even my parents or some other friends to get this small money to buy my candies. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that when I was a student, I studied for a while in Canada. And when we went to Canada with my family, we didn't have a lot of income. And my parents didn't have a lot of income because at that time it was 97, and Montreal, Canada was basically fighting for the independence. And because of this independence fight, all the industrial people left, and they basically left a ghost city with no business, nothing. So the income was very low. And myself, I was a student. We spent all the money basically in my studies, and sometimes I would say that 3 times per week I didn't even have enough money to have lunch. And at that time I couldn't afford to have lunch, and this experience taught me how to be courageous. Courage and be able to bear the hardship basically. Yeah. And at 2021 is pretty tough. It's pretty tough when you see your other friends going for party, etc., having fun, and yourself you're trying to get $1 or $2 to get a bloody hamburger in Burger King. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Phola. So can you share also after this difficult stage in life, how did you kind of like overcome if you had any preconceived barriers of that you had, how do you like overcome that?
Well, for both situations, I use EQ to overcome that. I tell you why. Is because around me, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, a lot of kids were having more money, right? So in life, if you can't work, and if you can't get the money from yourself. You need to basically build network, relationship, and the same way as what we are doing now as adults, right? But when you are a kid or a teenager, it's pretty difficult to build this network. So I learned to build this network, to get to closer to these people who could basically bring me to nice places, sometimes pay for me or give me good opportunities to get this summer jobs and all these things. Yeah. So this is how I overcame the challenges, by EQ and getting closer to people.
Thanks for sharing, Phola. That was a very inspiring story. I think from struggling to even get meals to actually being where you are today. Yeah, I think it really warmed my heart as well. Yeah. Then what about Melissa? So I think Melissa, you're on mute, so you can unmute.
Okay. I guess it goes back to when I was younger. My family was, I'm pretty confused when I was growing up, basically. My family came from a pretty good background, I would think. At least that's what I was thinking, right? But actually not quite as well. So my grandfather had a shop, like he owned a shop, right? And it was passed down by his father. So that was my great grandfather, which I've never met. And so they were like and my parents and my aunts, and they were taking over, like they were the third generation. I was supposed to be the fourth generation, right? In that sense, if I were to take over the business. So you would think like, oh, okay, own a business, that's pretty good, and but I was pretty confused because I don't feel like owning a business at that point of time on how they were exactly running it is actually bring in the money. It is bringing in money, but at the same time, it's not really, how do you say, I don't feel rich in that sense. Okay, I guess it's because there's a lot of like argument going on as well. Like I relate to what Janice is saying about, when you're younger, sometimes the adults were, like quarreling, and the conversations that you were having is all about, do I have, it's just money in and out, like, and not like who's paying for this, there's not enough, and what's going on, as kids, you're just taking it in, like taking everything in, right? And it's like, can they just stop quarreling? That's like constantly on my mind, and it's not like I don't have food. I have food, I get to go to school, everything is good, but why are they still quarreling? That's like the biggest question mark I have. So I grew up very confused, but at the same time, I guess there is two things which I gain clarity for myself. The first thing is money management is very important, right? It's not about how much you earn. It's about how you manage your money, right? Where are you putting it to which area? Does it fulfill you, right? I guess that's very important. And that also brings to the point about, well, if you want to get good in the money game, then money game in that sense, right? You have to, the question goes back to, do you know, how do you want to make money work for you? I guess that's probably the thing. Like, have you upgraded yourself in getting to know money in that sense? And what is it really for you, right? So I realized, like, at the point, I'm like, okay, everybody can earn money, right? But do you know how to manage money? Okay, and are you going to figure out how to manage it? I think that's very close to my heart, and so it has been an ongoing thing from then to now. It's really to figure out how money works, just how money works, right? And certain thing, if it aligns, go for it, try it, see whether it works out. If it doesn't, then change, right? And then money will be a tool to get you to more fulfillment at the end of the day. So money management, I guess that's really one big part of the thing that I learned at the end of the day. I was just going to talk about another thing, but it kind of slipped out of my mind. But yeah, so probably this is the main thing. Yeah, everybody can earn money, but at the end of the day, do you know how to manage? Right? And that's probably one of the growth that we need to learn if we want to make good in this area. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Melissa. I think very, very, like, reflective points that you made here. Not only and happiness is not directly derived from money, but also in the process of making money, are you even happy or not? Yeah. So even if you have a lot of money, but then the way you get there is very deeply unhappy, then you will not ultimately be a happy person. So I think a lot of takeaways from your sharing. Thanks for sharing.
Maybe can I add on to that? I don't know. I feel like I'm a bit talkative, but just
Yeah,
adding
go ahead.
what you are saying, right? There's also another part to that. Like I personally feel like there's always this thing about, is this whole rah-rah thing that has been going on, especially when I'm growing up in my 20s, right? I'm not in my 30s. Well, yeah, so it's not too far away. But the thing is, there's this thing of do what you love and love what you do, right? You got to love what you do. No, you got to love what you do, right? And before you could actually, get the happiness, get the money, get the, kind of thing going on. But I think personally, there's something that is missing in that, whereby it can maybe, I'm not sure, might have become an excuse for some people, whereby, if you consistently is just thinking about, I have to find the thing that I love, I have to keep finding the thing that I love, and I have to keep continuously looking for the thing that I'm passionate about, right? Then, hey, today I'm loving this, tomorrow I'm not loving it. The question is, are you really not loving that work that that thing that you're doing, or you're not loving the effort, the time, the discomfort that you have to learn in that skill set, right? I think that's a very thin line. So while we get clarity in about what we love, I guess it's really to go through what is needed as well. I mean, if you, it's like, it is a very easy way to say that, that's not what I love, and then get out of it. But hey, every single job, every single career, every single investment, every single work that you do, there's going to be parts that you don't love. It's going to be a fact, right? Wherever you go, there's going to be that part. But is it really, at the end of the day, it's really to just check in with ourselves. Well, every work, there's something that I love, but that part that I do not love, is it something that I could possibly grow in? And that would really help so much, rather than, I got to find something that I love to do, and that paralyzed the person. So just adding on to that area, whereby, yes, correct. We need fulfillment, we need love, we get happiness while we are working on our money side, but at the same time, we need to look in, is that really a reason or an excuse?
Thanks for sharing, Melissa. Actually, I have a question, a very curious question for you. So when you talk about, you don't necessarily have to love like every aspect of, the thing that you are pursuing. So I think for some of our listeners out there who are still kind of finding their path, right? One of the questions they would have in mind is then, how can I then choose something that might potentially work out for me? Because ultimately, most people, they say, okay, I need to find something that I will potentially love, and then I will get onto that path. So if now you are saying that, hey, but you're not going to love everything. So then how can people decide, there's going to be so many paths for them. How are they going to decide which is like so-called the best path, or something that they would, find more meaning or joy in?
Well, I guess you're going to be, I mean, in Singapore especially, right? Okay. When you start school and then you get into a particular track, right? It may not be necessarily what you want, but at the same time, you have something that you're leaning more towards too. Correct. So you have you kind of streamline down to okay, I probably could do this, or this just came, at the right time, right? And then you probably just want to jump in and then try it out and see whether that works out for you. I mean, if it's really a big no-no, you wouldn't even be considering it or thinking about it at all, right? That's like a red flag. It's no, that. But there are certain things in life that's okay, I'm open to it. And that's probably something that I know I do not like this aspect of it, but I like this aspect of it, right? And try it. I mean, just go in and try it. It is better that you try it, maybe you take 1 year of your life or 2 years of life to actually try it, rather than to, at the end of the day, you didn't try it, and then you wasted maybe say 50 years of your life. Right? So 365 days, or maybe say 6 months, you probably will figure it out and say, okay, that's not for me, right? But you would definitely get something out of that area if your mindset is right. Okay, I'm going in to really learn something and I want to get good at this. And when every single day you're thinking of that, okay, I'm not good at talking. I'm an introvert. I'm literally saying I'm an introvert. I'm not good at talking, and I suck at connecting with people, right? It's really very bad. So for me, I can count my friends, okay? And when I was going through that, I mean, being in my role right now, it's totally the other spectrum. But does it mean that I don't embrace the introvert side of me? Does it mean that I don't, like the me side of things? I still do, but it's just that I'm learning a different skill set, that I have to learn how to connect with people. I need to learn how to talk to people. I need to learn how to take the initiative, right? For example. So in whatever work that you're doing, there's going to be this aspect. So I hope I answer your question in a sense, like try it first. Yeah.
Thanks, Melissa, for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so maybe take a pause. Lishan and Audrey, do you have any questions as well? No. Okay. Lishan?
No. I just wanted to say that so far the shares have been very inspiring. So thank you for sharing. Yeah, but no questions from me either.
Okay, awesome. So now we'll move on to something maybe may or may not be technical. So I think you would like to find out from you guys, what has helped you the most in building your wealth? Right? It can be in terms of a mindset, or it can be in terms of, like tools that you have used. Maybe Phola, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I think that for me, it's more about hard work. I'm part of the people who have to work very hard to get some money. I don't know why, but some people, they go for I don't know, for a conference, a speech, they talk for 5 minutes, they get 500K. For me, it's the opposite. I need to work 500 hours to get 5K. It's a very different thing. So I'm used to working very hard to get the money. This one thing. The second thing is that the courage for investing. I think that a lot of people, they are scared of investing because they take this as almost as gambling, which is true to some extent, right? You are basically putting some money somewhere and hoping that it's going to grow, which might not happen, right? And so these two things, and this goes to a very common point, which is courage. How to keep working hard and how to keep investing when you know that there are a lot of risk, right? And yeah, I think that the courage helped me to grow the so-called wealth, right? But for me, it's more about like building stability and a better future. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Phola. I think if I remember correctly, there was some point in the point of your life where you felt like you didn't want to invest because it was too risky. So but right now you are actually investing actively. So can I know what was the shift in mindset? Like, how do you move from someone who is like averse to investing to someone who actually embraces investing? And how can you help our audience to overcome that fear if they have that?
Okay, so it's pretty simple. I was born during the Cambodian War. Okay, and at that time my family was very wealthy, and overnight we lost everything. Okay, so and then we became very, very, very poor. We went to Vietnam. We were sleeping on the streets. I mean, it was very, very tough, really, really, really tough. So culturally and by education, I always had this fear of losing everything, and that I will become like poor again. Okay, so when you between let's say 20 and 40, you are building your assets. You don't have a lot of assets usually, so you're building your assets. So, and if your education and if your life taught you that be careful, you might go back to zero suddenly, then you're not too keen to invest, because you're thinking, oh, this is putting this on some stock options, and maybe it's going to fall down, and then you're done, finish, and you have to rebuild the whole thing again, right? So why I waited for the 40s, because I reached basically a level where I was feeling comfortable with investing, which means that I could take maybe 5 or 10% or 20% of what I have to invest to get another 5 or 10 more percent in the future, right? But I always thought that I needed to ensure that I will always be safe with this investment. So that's why.
Thanks for sharing, Phola. I think it's very inspiring because we do have some listeners probably who are kind of not there, not investing yet because of some kind of fear that they have. And I think you sharing that, even though you waited for some period of time before you're comfortable to start investing, actually is also another financial decision that they can take, and that's okay. Like I think a lot of people have this FOMO, like me, that like, oh, if I don't invest now, I'm like totally screwed, like what about compound interest, etc., etc. But I think everybody has their own path, and I think your comfort is actually one of the very important things for like to sleep well at night as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you invest when you're very young, let's say around 10 or 12 years old, which is it's possible. A lot of kids nowadays, they do that, right? They put $5, $10 on SP 500, and they're just waiting. It's pretty good. It's a good habit, right? But remember one thing, that is when you're 40, in your 40s, you have much more money, right? So when you invest more, which means that you earn more. So it's never too late to invest, basically, and you basically get this money back from when you were 12, buying candies and etc. So I feel that I was very scared as well, to invest too late. I was thinking, oh my gosh, already in the 40s, and I just started. But actually, no, if you look at the benefits and all these things, I feel like it's pretty decent.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Phola, and for giving us another perspective. Maybe we could ask Janice, for your tips on how do you build your wealth.
For me, I invest a lot in myself. So investing in myself is what brought me forward a lot lah. So since 2020 until now, I think I'm almost spending like 30K on upgrading myself lah. So it's something very important to me. So how did it help me in terms of shifting my mindset, right? Okay, there's two components. First thing first, right, is that number one, I have to improve myself to make sure that I'm of value to people. I can't be at a certain level and expect people to trust me. So first thing first, I must become more zai. So I work very hard to become more zai lah. Basically, must 爱 zai, Brandy. Yeah, so I work very hard to become more zai, number one. Then number two, right, is like a lot of people, we have a lot of mindset, limiting belief, okay? So I don't only attend my career kind of courses, I also attend non-career kind of courses as well. Recently, I attended the leadership one. Also a lot of learnings that it's not limiting belief behind ourselves, that we can actually break through and realize that, oh, money is not one of the biggest lessons. Money is not the only tool of transaction that we have. It's something that is struck me very hard. There's more than money. We can exchange more than just money, services, or even what you are as a person, what can you offer to the other party other than money. So it's something that I enjoy a lot lah. So all this limiting belief, yes, that's all for me.
Thanks for sharing, Janice. I think one of the very curious questions I have is, what, if you don't mind sharing, what were some of the limiting beliefs that you realized in maybe yourself or other people, and what was the most important one that you can advise the listeners to like break free of?
I think my most recent one, the one that I can think of immediately, is through the one that I just learned from the course, resourcefulness. This is something that is striking a lot of me, because being resourceful, right, is thinking about what you have on your hand, as in currently, what do you currently have on hand, okay, and try to make the best out of it. I mean, I don't have as much resources as someone who is born into rich family, but with my cards, what can I play? What can I do to help myself achieve the most possible route of success for me? Yes, it's about being very creative, your resources as well. Like, oh, what can I do with my specifics? Resources that only I have. It's all these little things that is breaking through a lot for me lah. Yes.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think you received a lot of support, a lot of hearts for that. I think it's really about I think there's this concept called internal locus of control, right? So, with what you have, how you believe that you can actually control a lot of your life rather than put control in other people's hands as well. Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing, Janice. And maybe Melissa, you can do a sharing as well.
For me, it's growth. That's basically the main theme. So if every day I am growing, then that really helps in managing wealth, managing relationship, managing life, whichever area. Yes, you have a question.
Yes, I have a question. So, Melissa, I'm very curious to know what does like growth mean to you, or rather, what specific themes in your life you can focus on in terms of growing?
I would guess like right now, if I really were to look back, it's really those areas that I don't feel comfortable in touching previously, to really just go and touch that area and figure that area out. So that's the most obvious part of things. So I do attend a lot of courses as well, similar to Janice, not just in the professional zone, but also in outside of the professional career side, whereby you get to know yourself more, and also to break through barriers that you don't even know it exists. Sometimes it's just blind spot. I mean, these are like help, help along the way, because I mean, obviously, if you have figured it out, you would have, right? And I'm not the kind of person that I like to take 20 years to figure it out or 30 years to figure it out. I appreciate help, like help me. But last time I wasn't that way. I want to figure everything out myself. And then one of the things that I realized, like, if the value that I have is growth, it doesn't matter whether it's me looking for that help or it's someone else helping me, because sometimes it's just a blind spot. It's not really a matter of that. It's just, hey, I need growth in this area. I realize that it's some part that I'm not comfortable with. And if I really want to grow in the direction, then yes, go, like that's what I'm telling myself. So besides courses, I mean, I couldn't be going courses all the time, right? So I read books, I talk to people, I mix with people of just a different range of people, right? And probably also in areas that, hey, that's kind of like interesting, whereby I've never thought of, and they kind of seem a bit different, or they are similar, or they are my role models. I would want to go and talk to them. So it takes a lot of courage, actually, when you actually see like, oh, this person right in front in the stage, right? And he's talking about this. It intrigues me, and I'm very interested. There's like 1,000 people there, for example, or like this someone, right? And would you take the effort to really go and reach out, right? Facebook, Instagram, and then drop a text, and that also boils down to resourcefulness. Like, would you make that as part of resources to really go say, hey, can we have a chat, like over coffee, my treat, but I would really love to learn from you. So every single part of these golden nuggets, I think I'm very humbled to actually be able to learn from all these amazing people as well. So I guess it's really just growth. I guess that's the main thing. And in whichever area that can let that happen, I'll just make sure I do that.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Melissa. And I saw that Li Shen has a question.
Yeah. So I was just noticing that resourcefulness did come up a lot, as well as the kind of mindset that you have towards be it growth or towards success or towards money. So say if somebody has, if you realize that you have a certain mindset in money or towards success, that is limiting, that is an issue. How would you suggest or advise someone to go about it if they know that it exists, but they might not want to, or they might not know how to get about it?
I think it's a very clear difference between not knowing and not willing. If the person is not willing in the first place, I don't think we'll be having the conversation at all. And I'm not someone that, go upright and say, I'm going to advise you on this. Like, I'm not somebody in that sense, right? Who am I? But if it's the other a way around, whereby, hey, I have this question and I really want to know, I want to learn, and that it come from a sincere space, and that person is really just looking at, hey, I want to go to my next level, then it depends on what the person is looking at. Is it really just specific to a skill set? I want to do investment, how do I do that? Or is it more of a mindset, right? I'm stuck to, maybe say 5,000 is a lot to that person. And maybe that's the goal that person wants to get to. But then at that point of time, if you know that person is already at 4,500, right? Or the person is at 3K. And this is a very different dynamic we're talking about, because it's like if you're at 4,500, then you want to see how you actually get the person to 9K. And hey, it's not the end at 5K, for example. Or if you're at 10K, then hey, 10K is not the end. What about 20K? What about 30K? For example, right? But if, like, say the person is comfortable at 3K and that's 3K and is not willing to go further than that, then it's really hard. It takes the person to know before we can do anything about it. Yeah. But if, let's say, it's a skill set situation, I know I want to get to 5K and I'm only at 2K, I'm only at 3K, for example, or I want to get 10K, I'm only at 5K, then we really have to map things out a bit, really go down to what you're doing, right? What's your skill set right now? What's your goal? Where are you getting to? Is it more of a career that you are trying to get there? Is it more of an investment? What kind of personality you have, like what inclination you have? I think it's a lot of things that comes into play to actually get the person to move towards that direction. But I guess to answer your question straightforwardly is willingness. The person needs to really have willingness and probably awareness to know that, hey, I want to get there. Or awareness to know that, hey, that's the limiting belief that I have and I want to move forward. Yeah. So hope I answer your question.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Melissa. Just now, I want to dial back a little bit on what you said just now about, talking to industry leaders or reading books, right? So I think not many of us might have the opportunity to speak directly to the industry leader that you're speaking about. But I think books is a very common resource that, everybody can find. So I'm very curious to know, what are some books that you recommend, that have shaped your beliefs recently?
Recently, I'm reading on leadership books. Like, I think it's more particularly related to my industry about how agencies are built and how amazing leaders actually help, groups of, their agents to actually move forward in their life. So I read that quite a bit. There were some recommendations from other amazing leaders that shared with me about it. So I guess I'm like, how come I didn't know? They were very, very amazing people to actually share that, hey, you should read this book, hey, you should read that book. And I guess, like, if I didn't reach out, I would never know. And I really appreciate that of these people. It's so amazing. Yeah. So books, yes, I guess it's really to read the industry ones that you are in, right? Because if you're in marketing, you probably want to read about marketing, right? Who's the top leader in there? I do not know, right? But you probably want to find out in that sense. But if you're talking about money, belief system, I think they're very common ones. It used to be Robert Kiyosaki, right? And then there was something around there, and there was Tony Robbins, there was something around there. I don't know what other new ones, but I guess they are not really about money as well. It's really about breaking the limiting beliefs there. But talking about, reaching the industry leaders, I think right now these days, if you go LinkedIn, if you go Instagram, try DMing them, like PM, DM, message. Sometimes they will just reply, right? Yeah.
Great, thanks for sharing, Melissa. So I think with that we can we can move on to the next question, right? I think it's very interesting because just now you mentioned about building your own wealth. So what were some of the mindsets or things that you did to build your own wealth? So now we can kind of think about it from another perspective. So what do you think society thinks about money that you feel is the biggest misconception? So something that did not serve most of the people in society, particularly the so-called not so great beliefs that they hold about money. Yeah, maybe Phola, you can go first.
Okay. Yeah, I think that it's a good question, but it's way too broad because society is divided by country, culture, habits, political views, and I don't think that there is such a common money mindset in society. So if you take, for example, France, right? Where I grew up, for example. At work, they have a very different money mindset, which is I need to get paid because I work. Okay, so and in Asia, most of the time, it's more about like I work because I'm paid. It's a very different mindset. You see what I mean? One is you're entitled to something, and the other one is that you have to you have the responsibility to do the things. It's a very different mindset. So I think that, you see, it depends on which country. If you take, for example, USA and Japan, you compare these two countries. If you look at the way they manage tips in the at the restaurant, it's very different. The mindset is like, I provide you a service in US, okay, and you have to give me the tips, okay, and you have to give it, even though it feels like it's a little bit optional, but you still have to give it to me, right? And if you don't give it to me, I'm going to make a lot of noise, because I will say that you're stingy, blah 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 blah, etc. In Japan, if you give the tips, you will have problems, because the waiters will say, don't look down on me, please. Okay, I have a job. I don't need these tips, and everything is included in the price. So it's a very, very different mindset. If you take, for example, Singapore, first tier world, right? Basically, one of the richest country in the world. And you take another one like any country in Africa, for example, or Cambodia, the money mindset is very different. People here are complaining about having a HDB, right? In Africa, you give them a HDB, they would probably put the whole country in the HDB. You know what I mean? Here, the standard is condo. You go to other countries like Cambodia or Africa or Kenya. In Africa, you have Kenya or these kind of countries. Condo is just a dream. It's not even close to their doorstep. You know what I mean? So it's very difficult to answer this question. And every country has a very different money mindset. And I think that that goes to the conclusion that, from my point of view, it's a very personal thing. Money mindset is not a society or a group or yeah.
Was very insightful, Phola. I think one of the very big takeaways that I had from you, I think personally, as somebody living in Singapore with relatively good income, is that to give thanks always, right? And even though all of us are kind of in this like money game, trying to pursue the next level, but then I think it's really important to also evaluate where we currently at and give thanks always for what we have. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And I think to Phola's point that this question is a little bit vague, maybe I'll open it up to Janice and Melissa to tweak the question in any way you can, or any way you want, and then try to answer the question in your own way. Maybe Janice.
Okay, so for me, maybe I will start with what kind of limiting concept I have in terms of money. So the first thing first, right, was I think maybe 2 or 3 years when I first joined the industry, I always tell myself I don't want a complicated life. I want a simple life. But the thing is, I told myself that, simple life equals to not as rich in a way. So it was like, I can either have a simple life or I can have a rich life in a sense. And I was believing in that for quite a while. So what happened was, during one of the session with one of my colleagues, so he was like, hey, why is it all? Why not end? Why not be rich and simple? Why not be rich and not complicated? So I was like, hey, interesting mindset there. So I at a point in time, it comes to me that, there's a possibility that I still can lead a very simple life while being rich. In that sense, I don't need to complicate my life. Yeah, that was something to me quite personally. Then the other thing, if you ask me about society, I would say that, like I said just now, one of the things is that we are too fixated on money. we are too fixated on money. Money is really not the only transaction that we can do. If we limit ourselves to only money as the way to communicate with people or interact with people, it's actually a very sad thing lah. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? So it's like a lot of children also, they think that showing love to parents is by just giving them money. This is a very first world country thing. To show love is to give money. It's our parents' generation, they have this kind of belief as well. So what we have to really realize is that money is really not the only way to show our love, lor. Yeah, like to spend time with them, to eat with them, all these kind of things are little things that matter a lot. Yeah, so that's what matters a lot to me lah. Yes.
Yeah, I think that some great thoughts right there. I do, because I do listen to quite a few podcasts, and especially by this guy called Tim Ferriss. I think most of you would know him. So I think one of the speakers that he had on board back then, you know, he interviews like amazing people, and then they're all like really like wealthy or very successful in their own right. And I think one of the common misconceptions that I hear is that you don't really have to be busy or complicated in order to have a rich life as well. And I think that's a very interesting perspective to shift. Yeah, awesome. And then maybe we could move to Melissa.
For my side, I think I agree with Phola. It really depends on which society you are in. So I guess different society have different way of handling money and their personal identity with money. I guess one of the questions to ask is, what's your relationship with money? Right? What's your current relationship with money? And that would be the biggest misconception for anyone now, because that is most relatable to you. I guess that also relates to how, I mean, because I work with people day in, day out, and I meet a lot of people every day. I guess one of the main thing is, well, relationship with money, it really depends on where you want to get to as well. Because if you say that 5K, I mean, I'm just very straightforward when we're talking about wealth situation, right? If you are talking about, okay, let's say I think that 5K is enough and I do not want more, then guess what? It is enough, right? So the main thing about it is, it's very interesting because there is this thing that's going on whereby everybody do want to get more, want to be on the next level, want to move further, right? But at the same time, there's also this another voice that comes in at times, whereby I'm not I'm not confident, you know, that I can get to the next level, or I don't think, or I didn't even think about it, or my industry couldn't get me to that level, or I'm not good enough for that level, or I'm not suitable for that level, or maybe for certain people it's more of like, okay, I'm at my 20K income now, for example, and that's all I wanted, right? And that stops. It's the same. It's like, okay, I'm at my 10K income right now, and that stops, and it's enough, right? But at the end of the day, it's still not about the money per se. It's about, are you challenging yourself to go more, right? But it's because of the you know, because with income, I mean, we are on the topic of wealth, it comes with status as well. It comes with how people look at you, how you look at yourself. There's a lot of other things that's involved, right? So because of that, it gets complex. Because of that, we're just talking about, am I a better version of myself, whereby I am probably a bit better, more capable, I have improved in my skills to be able to earn that additional 10K, for example. And that's that. And that's just a measurement of how I'm doing well in my growth area. That's it. But if it comes into the other aspect, and imagine if I grow up in a family, for example, of everybody's just averagely earning about 5 to 6K. And would you want to go beyond that? 20K. I mean, then that would be how people will be looking at you, right? It's the same thing. Like if I'm born in a doctor's family, and I am obliged to at least be a professional of a doctor or lawyer or something along that line, right? And I couldn't be doing something that is probably, maybe I want to do photography, and that's something that I really love, right? So I'm just saying that it's more of a complex situation than it is, but it's really to really look at yourself, where is it that you really want to go, and what does that mean to you really? What do you want to do with it? And yeah, I think clarity over that will really help. I think that's what the society, probably for most people, needs now, is clarity over what they really want in life. That will really help. And then the money conversation is not really a money conversation. It's really you as a person, what do you want? And then that will come in as byproduct. Yeah.
Great sharing, Melissa. I think just now, I wanted to ask a tangential question, so it's not exactly related to the whole thing that you're talking about. But you talk one thing about, sometimes not feeling like, you can reach the next level, or you had doubts about maybe yourself, the capabilities, or maybe being in the so-called the industry that doesn't bring you to the next stage of growth. So how do you manage to break through these kind of things? Like, when was a moment where you felt like, hey, can I really question your abilities to get there? And then how did you break free of that?
Okay, so it's like right now at this stage, right? If everybody were to be asking yourself this question, it's just, okay, whatever amount that you are earning now, I mean, that's very in simple form, that amount now, okay? Double it, right? Are you thinking of getting there in the first place? Right, let's double it again. Are you thinking of getting that? Right? If you have never thought about it, then probably you want to think about it, because once you start, then you will start to think of other ways or what possible ways to get that. But just, be a bit more aware as well as we are doubling it. What are the conversations that comes in? Right? What is the conversation that comes in to say, probably, no, why, what? All the questions that's coming at yourself, like, is that possible? How is that, that kind of thing? I guess it starts from here. And really tackling each of these other voices that's talking to you. And there's really no right or wrong in that. Okay. And probably the right or wrong that you see in those questions that's asking you is probably the right or wrong that you have in place on yourself. And that's like the limiting belief that you probably have at this point. But it is a limiting belief. And the amazing thing about limiting belief, it can be unlimited. As in, what I meant is it could be, it will move, right? And that's why it's a limiting belief. So I guess this is probably the question that you want to ask yourself, and that will give you a lot of voices for you to start to begin with. And if you get stuck with that question for too long, and you realize that you are stuck, and you don't mind having someone to aid you along, then go speak to someone else that is at that level that you had, and go talk to that person. And probably you get some insights. And books help as well. But I prefer one-to-one. So it's really it's just having different resources, helping you at different time. Sometimes, of course, I want my me time, I'll just be reading a book, right? Yeah, but it's really having different perspective, like what Phola have. Like, I think that's amazing, going to different countries and realizing that, entitlement versus, that's like, I really appreciate. And it comes from really experiences and interacting with people, and you couldn't get that from books, right? Like, now I'm listening from Phola, I'm like, okay, I'm not getting the first-hand information, but as I'm listening to Phola, I'm getting a second, and I can hear it from him, from his experience. And that really impacts me more than books, right? But then if I don't have Phola today and I didn't join this today, I'll probably be reading that from books. So I've been, looking, when I go to Japan, I haven't been to Japan, but Europe, US, yes. So did I get too far track? I'm answering your question, right? Like, to really first start asking a question, whatever income you have now, have double it. How do you feel? Triple it. How do you feel? What are the questions that start coming up? Or is it blank? Or if it's a blank, then that means you have probably never really think about it before. Then start thinking.
That's like wonderful insights, Melissa. And I think just now you talk about, talking to people whom you look up to and want to seek advice from. And I think that nicely actually sums up my final question for today's session. And that is actually, what is like one piece of advice from your most trusted mentor, or anybody in your industry or anybody that you look up to that really made a true difference in your life? Yeah. it can be more than one piece of advice if if you are feeling if you have a lot of inspiration.
Okay, I will start first. There's really a lot, but as I'm thinking through it, I mean, I'm just thinking about what I've been talking about today, and I think the main thing, I really want to thank all of you for the questions because it helped me reflect as well. And I guess one of the core values that I have is really growth. And one of the quotes that really hit me, and I'm just seeing from a lot of different mentors, teachers out there, that I have some that I haven't had direct contact with, but it's really through their videos and stuff like that. One main thing is really, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And there's also other quotes that relates to that, like really to make growth every single day in whichever area that you want. And tying on to that is also to have faith and to still move forward no matter what. And it all comes together. So I think to my last day, if I'm on the coffin, I mean, no, not a coffin, but maybe the bed, right? Before I die, I think I would still be probably looking at growth. I don't know, but the topic of growth then would probably be very different. And I really appreciate, all these teachers that actually helped me to realize the potentials or the blind spots that I have not seen in my life. And thanks to them, I have growth. And personally, just full on gratitude to them.
Yeah, great summary. Thanks, Melissa. Maybe we could get Janice. You could share your advice.
If you ask me right now at this current age, at this current juncture of my life, right, for me it's more about striving ahead lah. Honestly, it's more about going ahead with everything I can. Like I'm really, if you ask me, it's really, I'm going back to the resourcefulness side of things. And win-win-win situation, these are things that I'm quite embracing a lot right now. So I always want to, as much as possible, focus on a win-win-win situation such that everyone can benefit from it. So it's something that is possible without compromising on integrity. And this is something that I really want to move forward with resourcefulness, because if I'm resourceful enough, I don't have to compromise my integrity to make sure everyone wins in the situation. Yes, that's for me.
Yeah, thanks, Janice. And is there kind of a piece of advice that you have heard from a mentor or an industry leader that really made a difference to shift your mindset?
Mentor or industry leader? Not exactly, because like what I said, the resourcefulness, right, is actually something that I've learned from a recent mentor, and it's really impacting me in a very effective manner. Because immediately after that day of sharing with the mentor, right, wow, something really clicked in me, and I really went and my efficiency increased a lot. The cases closed rate also increased a lot. So it's really after that resourcefulness talk like, hey, wow, it's all myself. I cannot say that, oh, my luck today not good. Yes, it's, well, I have to do something about it with whatever I have. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing and nicely summarizing your learnings. And what about Phola?
Yeah, so on my side, I think that the biggest influence I had was from my dad, who is probably my best mentor on the professional side. Even though we have very different careers and different paths, but he always told me something that I keep in my mind when I do my job, is that he said that you need to be able to do everything. And it goes back to Janice's resourcefulness topic. You need to be able to do anything, because anything can happen in life, and you would be probably forced to do something that you never did before, right? So it's always better to be prepared yourself to do everything, because when when we left Asia during the war, when we went to France, my dad couldn't speak French. He didn't have any particular skills to work in France, and he had to find a job in France. So you can imagine how difficult it is for someone, and if you don't have the mindset that I'm able to do everything, then you die. Your life is done, right? So this probably the biggest thing that I've learned from my side, and that's why I in my career, for example, I went to many industries, and it helped me a lot, and especially in my career growth strategy, because you need a strategy for that. And this I learned from many bosses who also are the mentors who taught me that if you want to move from one position to another one, you need to find the common things between these two positions and work very hard on this common thing, because this is the only link, the only bridge that brings you to the other one. Another lesson I've learned is that time is money, money is time. So you will notice that on the corporate side, the more senior you are, the more money you make. It's not just because of skills. It's a big part of it, skills, right? But it's also time, because the more senior you get, the more time you spend in meetings making decisions, right? So your time is valued even more, much more. You know, someone at my age, I'm talking about age, I'm not talking about skills, but at my age, I spend much more time on meetings than I was when I was 20. And we are spending roughly the same amount of time working, right? But my time is valued much more now, because time is more critical for me, because you get older and older and older, and near, I would say closer and closer to the end. So you have to value your time even more. So these are the few things that I've learned. And the last thing I would finish with probably is that we all have a purpose in this world. We are born to do something and leave with something behind for the whole humanity. So I think that the day I would probably ask myself, what did I achieve? And I'm not going to look at the amount of money, because it's very subjective, right? But I would probably think about, did I take care of my family well? Did I help enough people to feel that I really brought something to this world, and leaving with something behind? Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Phola, for sharing. And I think a huge thank you to Melissa, Phola, and Janice. All of your insights were super invigorating for me, especially on a Sunday morning. I hope that I do this more often, because I think I really learned a lot from it as well. Yeah, I think talking about growth, talking about having a limitless mindset, as well as putting internal locus of control and being resourceful on your own. I think all these are incredible insights that I think our listeners would really love as well. Yeah. So maybe Lishan and Audrey, any rounding words that you want to say to our panelists?
Yeah. I think like one thing that struck out in this conversation about money mindsets and wealth building is actually growth. Like how far we can grow in terms of breaking through certain limiting beliefs and increasing our awareness to know the things that we don't know. Yeah. Think personally, I think like from Melissa, uh she raised a lot of good questions that got me like reflecting and thinking like, oh, actually like currently what are my comfort zones and how I can move to the next level. Because sometimes, right, even though I mean like he kind of reminded me that yeah, actually growth is one of my key values, and to what extent and to how hard do I want to grow right now. Yeah, so I think it's a great question to examine on a Sunday morning. Yeah, then from Janice, I learned things about resourcefulness. Yeah, tapping into different resources to in the game. Yeah, and what are some of the things that I'm not really seeing in terms of this like different kind of games like a career and wealth building. Then from Fola, I I hear a lot of like resilience and grit in this process. Yeah. And which is something that is very, very rare to hear nowadays from like especially people from my age group. Because we are born in a very fortunate like times without any wars, without any like suffer much like physical suffering in terms of like hunger and wars. So I felt that, yeah, very fortunate to be living in such a time to be able to pursue the things that I can. Yeah. Yeah. Then I guess like from timing, as usual, like great hosts ask a lot of like questions that help the guests to deepen, yeah, their sharing. Yeah.
Hey, fantastic. Thanks, Audrey. What about Lishan?
Yeah, thank you, Audrey. That was a very insightful summary. Yeah, so for me, I also hear a lot of resourcefulness, as well as preparedness or willingness to go beyond what you already know, to learn beyond what you think you are or who you think you can be, and to go into uncomfortable zones. So this growth is something I hear across all three of you. And yeah, thank you, Melissa, for the questions. That was very insightful. It gave me some understanding about myself as well, and the kind of beliefs that I'm holding. And I can see that, I mean, at different stages, there's like different mindsets. And it's really about taking that step forward. Yeah. So thanks so much for taking the time out. I'm also cognizant of the fact that today is Labor Day when we're taking this video. So it's actually a very good time that we're reflecting on the labor that we've been putting into the work that we're doing, the kind of exchange it brings in terms of money, and then we're talking on it first thing in the morning on a Sunday morning of Labor Day. So yeah, this was not planned, but somehow the way the topics have turned out, it seemed to be a very good fit for the day. So yeah, wish all of you a good day ahead as well. And thank you, Kaining, for sharing about and for facilitating this whole session. Very insightful questions. Yeah.
So thanks everyone for your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
All right, bye. We're ending the recording here.